The user wanted to test if using special methods, such as exploiting a glitch to generate countless raw materials through a vaccine, could crash the server. To verify this hypothesis, the user, having nothing better to do, first built a small-scale raw material farm. Testing revealed a production rate of up to 75,000 raw materials per hour, not only filling chests to the brim and piling them up into mountains, but also causing a significant drop in game frame rate. Although it wasn't enough to crash the server, this inspired him to build a larger-scale raw material farm, aiming to break a Guinness World Record. A man of action, he immediately outlined a plan, dividing the construction into 3 parts. The first involved placing leaves around the pit and irrigating them with water. This water was crucial for the second step, using it to interact with lava to achieve infinite raw material generation. The third step involved adding a redstone duplication system to the machine to duplicate TNT, thus blasting the generated raw materials into countless pieces. The entire process took only 20 minutes, and it's hard to imagine that this could produce 75,000 raw materials per hour, an incredibly efficient process. However, one machine was far from enough to achieve the goal, so he immediately duplicated another one next to it. But considering that each machine required pulling a lever and pressing a button to start, which was inconvenient, he thoughtfully connected the levers and buttons of both machines together, creating a central control system, instantly simplifying the operation. Now, with 2 machines running, they could produce an average of 2,500 raw materials per minute. But this output still didn't meet the user's requirements, and the game frame rate wasn't affected at all, falling far short of the initial goal. Therefore, the user decided to build these raw material farms in batches, aiming to achieve the goal through sheer quantity. However, this presented 3 major problems. First, he didn't want anyone to discover his farm. The plan was to create a machine that would make him a server celebrity. Otherwise, these machines would have to be built underground, which undoubtedly increased the workload for the guy. Just clearing the site was a huge project, not to mention the huge commotion caused by the blasting, which quickly attracted the attention of other players who came to investigate. Fortunately, the genius guy, using the excuse that he was just casually farming some raw materials, successfully fooled them. The second major problem was the scarcity of materials. All the parts had to be handcrafted, which required collecting a large amount of resources, a very time-consuming and laborious process. But unfortunately, high-end machines only require the most basic forging methods. After collecting the materials, the guy quickly began mass-producing the mining machines. After 9,981 days of hard work, he successfully built 12 machines. Then he began to deal with the third major problem, the redstone system setup. A single mistake in this step could cause the machine to self-destruct, so the guy had to maintain his concentration and carefully follow the instructions for the first 2 machines. After several attempts, the genius guy even developed muscle memory. He was even faster than the person who created the tutorial. To be safe, he also tested each machine. Then, as expected, an unexpected problem occurred. Something went wrong in one of the steps, causing the machine to suddenly malfunction and explode. Fortunately, with his experience, he repaired it successfully in less than half an hour. He was truly an extraordinary Einstein. Now, these 13 machines can produce at least 1,000,000 raw materials per hour. For easier management, the guy also thoughtfully created a small collection system, so the raw materials would be automatically collected. Of course, there was also the indispensable master switch. Fortunately, this time, the startup went without any further incidents, and these machines began to produce materials like a factory, systematically and efficiently. Raw materials were being generated, and the older brother clearly felt the game was lagging. He said, "Let's share the blessings," and the kind and generous older brother immediately dug another transport pipe, allowing a large amount of raw materials to be transported to any location on the surface. At that time, any passing players would be blessed. At the same time, the pipe could be activated or stopped at will, completely under the older brother's control. In less than half a minute, more than 200 entities were scattered on the ground, and the computer's graphics card was working frantically. But this still didn't achieve the effect the older brother wanted. After all, his ultimate goal was to reduce the frame rate to 0, or even crash the server. So the older brother immediately made another crazy decision, to expand the factory scale again. With the experience gained, this time it only took 2.5 years to easily replicate an identical stone-generating factory. At the same time, he connected the 2 water collection systems together. When 30 machines were started simultaneously, more than 300 entities were instantly generated per second, and the game's frame rate dropped to 20, but it still wasn't enough. This meant the older brother was about to go all out, once again super doubling the number of machines. And to completely solve the problem of insufficient materials, the older brother chose to build the machines behind his friend Mike's warehouse. It was like hitting a jackpot. To repay his friend, the grateful older brother generously filled the warehouse chests with raw materials, and Mike happily thanked the older brother's entire family. However, as the number of machines increased, more hopper collection devices had to be built to keep up with the production. But because there were too few iron blocks for the large hoppers, the older brother had to build more transport pipes, which caused other players on the server to question whether they needed to replace their phones. Regarding this, the older brother said that it was just a matter of convenience. As for where the raw materials were transported, it depended on where he was digging. He might have dug into some guy's house, but it's no big deal. After all, the crazy guy didn't even spare the village's iconic guardian statue, building 2 cobblestone generators inside it. From the outside, it looked like the statue was spinning, only it was spinning raw stone, practical and fun. After that, the guy tirelessly dedicated himself to building more generators. Now, he can build a machine in less than 5 minutes, having mastered the construction method so thoroughly that it's practically ingrained in his DNA. He's built countless machines. The entire underground area is covered with them. To achieve his goal faster, he connected all the pipes together, transporting all the raw stone to one place. Because the processor has to track the movement of the entities on the screen, you can't even imagine how spectacular the scene will be when all the machines start simultaneously. After completing the construction work, the guy excitedly invited his friend Mike to witness this momentous occasion. "Are you ready?" "No, I'm not." "Yeah, I'm ready. I'm seeing some cobblestone. Like I'll see." like 10 cobblestone. Quote. The moment the machine started simultaneously, a massive amount of raw stone instantly gushed out. How many? Oh my game, how many? Quote. Soon, the game's frame rate plummeted, and the screen froze into a slideshow. Come on, we can get it down to 1. This could break the server. Oh no, I'm at 1. Oh no. I'm back at 2. Back at 2. I can, quote. Don't turn off the machine. My game is so laggy. I like the operation. Should I come down? Yeah, try to make your way down. I see that machine exploded, spewing out 100,000 raw materials and 1,500 corpses. Unfortunately, it didn't last 5 minutes before the machine completely shut down, and in its final moments of collapse, the frame rate finally became one of the most popular mods in MC, featuring 6 major bosses. Today, I'm gonna sweep through these 6 things and take everything, but before challenging them, I need to complete the original game first. But I believe everyone has already seen this before, so I'll briefly go over the process. This time, the spawn point is in the desert. I quickly searched 2 villages, a temple, and a broken portal. I had a very lucky start, obtaining a lot of iron, gold, and diamonds, and even an infinite enchantment book and a repair book. I swear I didn't cheat. With iron armor on and a diamond sword in hand, I went to the nether. During the exploration, I gathered enough diamonds to make diamond tools. Then I farmed blaze rods and ender pearls to make eyes of ender. In the stronghold, I found several more enchantment books. Then I dug a straight tunnel to the surface from the portal. I made a small base here. When I returned from the nether, I enchanted my bow with infinity and level 3 power. I went to the nether and dealt with the enderman, but that wasn't my real purpose. My real purpose was to get equipment from the nether fortress. Diamond armor, ender chests, and shulker boxes are what I need. The chests were good, lots of armor. I took the shulker boxes and used the gunpowder from the temple to make rockets. Now I don't have to shout on the ground anymore. Exploration progress increased significantly. Successfully obtained diamond armor, returned. Back in the main world, I enchanted my equipment using the experience points gained from defeating the shadow dragon. I also added some armor decorations to my armor, which looks pretty good. Now that the preparations are complete, it's time to challenge the first boss. These 6 bosses all require a special eye to find them, which is a fundamental game mechanic. The first boss requires the monster's eye, and it needs these materials. Luckily, I had the foresight to collect them beforehand. Then I returned to the nether and released the monster's eye. It seems that having the ability to fly here is a huge advantage. I can just fly straight there. Here we are. This is the battleground for the first boss. I'll place all the necessary items and begin. He spotted me. Is he attacking from this far away? Oh no. His projectiles leave behind lava. I can collect the ancient debris after the fight. Just wait until I get there. I'll beat you to a pulp. Dodging his attacks at close range is a bit difficult. Let me eat a golden apple first. He only uses this one move repeatedly. What a repetitive attack pattern. If I can't dodge, I won't bother. Now let's fight it out and see who falls first. Wait, something's wrong. It's the second phase. The arena seems to have fire attacks now. But even so, you're just struggling in vain. I successfully defeated the first boss. Let's check out the first boss's drops. A large hammer, right-click to deal area damage, but it has a cooldown. And also a pickaxe, haha, enchanting it later should be good. It also dropped this monster horn, which is a material. It can be used to craft a helmet. At half health, it knocks back surrounding monsters and grants various buffs. It looks very good. Wait, there are redstone circuits here. Let me see what it's connected to. A piston. Wow, there's a treasure room here. There shouldn't be anything I haven't explored yet. Time to upgrade my equipment and continue exploring the nether fortress. In the fortress, I obtained the armor template and crafted this monstrous helmet. Wow, these newly added monsters are not only tough to fight, but I also need to collect all the dropped items and crafted equipment to complete the walkthrough. After enchanting the hammer, I started searching for the second one. It requires a void eye to locate it, and I had already prepared this material. Let's see which direction it's in. Isn't this the direction I came from? There it is, that purple building. Wow, there are new spider monsters here. Let me try the hammer. 2 hits per monster. What kind of material is this? It can be used to make new arrows. I can farm a few more. Let me try the area attack. Not very effective. 1 hammer blow isn't enough to kill them. There are traps here too. The chests in this area are all junk. Which way should I go? Wow, is this an elite monster? The attack range is so large, it's beyond the level of a normal elite monster. It has such strong knockback ability and can even destroy blocks. It's quite powerful. Finally, I killed it. What's this? A ranged attack item that can release purple spikes. Unfortunately, the cooldown is a bit too long. Let's go down. The boss is waiting for me below. After defeating 2 more elite monsters, I finally arrived at the room of the second boss, the Guardian of the Void. After preparing, I summoned the Guardian of the Void. These attacks are a bit difficult to deal with. It's darting around everywhere. Wow, it also has area attacks. Something's wrong. Why is my screen zooming in? And I can't attack anymore. Is this a forced silence? It also has a shadow clone attack. How can it have so many different attacks? Okay, old man, what skills does he have? The ground shattered. This is the second phase. His attacks are even more ferocious now. Perfect. I can test the half health effect of the helmet. Wait, it's a bit too powerful. Although the buffs are there, watch me hammer you to death. Haha, the health bar is dropping visibly. It seems this hammer and sword skill is pretty good. Finally, the last blow, it's finally done. This guy was much harder than the first one. Then this boss dropped a shield, and this thing is pretty cool, and the damage is also good. Look at me, one hand with a shield, the other with a hammer, that's quite good. I feel like my sword can retire now. Their damage is the same, and this shield even adds defense. Time to upgrade my equipment. I also picked up all the drops from the second boss. Back in the overworld, the first thing I did was craft the Void Sword. The problem is, infinite enchantment doesn't work on it. Next, I enchanted the shield. Today's video will definitely show you that there's more than one type of Enderman. Today I'll show you other types of Enderman. The normal Enderman can teleport and grab blocks, and being afraid of water is something we've all seen enough of. The second type is this Enderman that breaks with tradition. He's no longer afraid of water, but rather thrives in clear water. Coral grows on his body, and small fish surround him. He also has a bubble attack. Creatures surrounded by bubbles will float higher and higher. Now Endermen no longer have to fear rainy days, and they can even wrap fish in bubbles, simply invincible. The third type is the herbal Enderman. Look at how he's covered in flowers and vines, completely green. You know he's definitely very close to nature. The herbal Enderman is very kind and very popular because as long as the herbal Enderman stands next to crops, he can accelerate their growth. It's a real agricultural powerhouse. But being kind doesn't mean he has no means of attack. The herbal Enderman can summon roses from the ground anytime, anywhere. The summoned roses not only attract creatures but also prick them. When there are many flowers around the herbal Enderman, the roses he summons will become larger. The fourth type is the chef Enderman, short and chubby with a big mouth, wearing a chef's hat and apron. His mouth can open to its limit, swallowing things the size of trees and fish. After squatting down, the force of the expulsion, extremely large, you could easily break things if you're not careful. Fifth, the minecart shadow. Its appearance resembles a shadowy figure carrying a turtle shell, but its shell can extend to wrap around its body, making it look like a giant wheel. When it rolls, it possesses immense power. Anything in its path, whether stones or monsters, will be crushed into pieces. Even if only the wheel remains, it can still wreak havoc on the world. In the eyes of the minecart shadow, everything is merely a speed bump. Sixth, the troll shadow, evolved from a shadow with a craving for power. Its entire body is dark blue. Its eyes have doubled from one pair to two, and its arms and legs have become more developed. Its ultimate move is to powerfully strike the ground with both hands, causing the earth to tremble and surge. This skill can not only be used for offense but also to detect underground minerals. Seventh, the venomous shadow. Its head is corroded down to a skull, and its body is covered in a sickly green color of venom, wearing tattered rags. One look tells you it has endured painful experiences. It possesses the ability to summon corrosive acid rain from the sky, easily melting even stones. Moreover, it can summon corrosive explosions upon impact, corroding everything around it. It is a terrifying hunter. Eighth, the ice shadow, a shadow that's specially evolved in snowy areas, absorbing the power of ice. Its entire body is frozen into ice. With a wave of its hand, it can release a chilling blast on the target's head, freezing the opponent within 10 seconds. It is truly terrifying. Ninth, the ghost shadow, with a floating body and hands that extend to the ground, clearly a ghost among ghosts. It can release a magic spell. Anyone caught by it will be sucked into another world like being flushed down a toilet, spinning into another dimension. It can also enter this dimension itself, a place similar to the ceiling of the netherworld, with endless ashes floating in the air and constantly spreading bedrock beneath. Anyone pulled in by it, they can never escape. Only the phantom shadow people can use magic to return to the main world at any time. The 10th shadow person, similar to the ice shadow person, is covered in burning flame patterns that seem to emanate from his body. This shadow person is like the legendary rock demon, impervious to the burning flames. The lower realm is his happy home. Facing the monsters that challenge him, he easily sends them to their demise with his explosive attacks. In this scorching and dry place in the lower realm, he is like a fish in water. Even the overlord of the lower realm, the Wither, is not taken seriously by him. 3 explosive attacks are enough to defeat it. The 11th, the yellow beast shadow, has somewhat deviated from the category of shadow people. It resembles a two-headed ogre, with a leg growing from each side of its head. Its broad body is red and robust, inexplicably making it appear terrifying like a demon. Anyone who dares to approach it will be crushed by its powerful legs. This ferocious beast shadow person possesses the aura of a king and can command all the previous shadow people. The appearance of each ferocious beast shadow person brings immense disaster. Under the rampage of these shadow people with different abilities, even the domain lords are mere playthings in their hands, allowing them to be molded and manipulated at will. Of course, shadow people have their limits, and the ferocious beast shadow person cannot forcibly command them to do things they cannot do, such as challenging the shadow lord. The 12th, the mysterious shadow person. This shadow person with powerful magic has 3 eyes, and the magic circle on his back is a manifestation of his magical wisdom. He can soar through the sky at will, no longer bound by gravity. The mystery of the mysterious shadow person represents his elusive nature. His unique magic can transform any creature into a shadow person. With this magic, he can even attack a country, and no army can resist him. His subordinates will only increase. The mysterious shadow person also possesses powerful alchemy, capable of replicating any equipment, even replicating. The equipment is even stronger than the original version. He can even replicate diamonds. With this magic, he can destroy the economic system of any country, although he has no interest in doing so. The mysterious Shadow Man can also travel through various dimensions, and only encountering more powerful items can satisfy him. Finally, we come to the last and strongest Shadow Man, the 13th Shadow Man King. This is the ultimate Shadow Man, with a 4-crowned head, 4 arms with hooked claws, and a body like he's wearing a suit of black armor. He also has a strong tail, and with a single gesture, he can unleash a world-destroying beam of light, destroying everything in front of him completely. He and the enhanced body of the ancient city were teleported away, seemingly due to some kind of negative energy. The Shadow Man King can directly teleport to the Shadow Dragon Island through him. Even the Shadow Man is nothing more than a wise fly in front of him. What do you think of these Shadow Men? A weapon that is the strongest in history defeats players as easily as cutting vegetables, even to the point of killing anyone who stands in its way, causing chaos throughout the entire server. Because of this, the server administrator directly banned him. Since then, no one has ever seen this divine artifact again. But today, I found its recipe. I found it, brother. I really found it. I can hardly believe it, but now we have no choice but to go. Before others discover it, we must craft it and rule the entire server. So my teammates and I set off to get the most crucial material, a heavy hammer. To forge the heavy hammer, we need a heavy core. This thing is hidden in the trial room, which is heavily guarded. We even encountered someone there that every player on the server fears, Mu Gong. His power is something no one can currently shake. Fortunately, we're not Kara, so we use the excuse of coming here to get some candles to decorate the base. I managed to smoothly brush off the conversation, and then we found that rare heavy core. I was so excited that I even kicked my teammate, shouting, "Oh my god, yes, 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 yes." Quote, just when I was at the peak of my happiness, something unfortunate happened. I stepped on a trap, and all my equipment instantly disappeared, including the heavy core I had just obtained. Fortunately, my teammate helped me get everything back. We successfully crafted the first material needed to make the scythe, but when we were searching for the next material in the ancient city, I couldn't help but ask my question. Brother, do you think Aunt Mew also knows this recipe? Probably not. Even if she's looking for it, the two of us together can handle it. Quote, okay, we shouldn't be too overconfident and celebrate too early, but he's really strong. Quote, what Lee said is right. There are rumors that Aunt Mew has planted many former agents all over the server. Maybe I can't even completely trust Wei Li, but at this moment, I still have to absolutely trust him. But after our thorough search, we didn't find any trace of the material, and this was already the last ancient city on this server. But Wu Feng, Lian Yu, and Wei Li left beforehand, so I could only return to the base alone. On the way, I saw 3 players building some kind of device base. I don't know exactly what it was. I wanted to go over and say hello, but these 3 guys immediately started attacking me with punches and kicks. At this moment, a bold idea appeared in my mind. Players drop their heads after death. If I could manage it, I could get 3 heads at once. But if I fought them head-on, I definitely wouldn't be able to beat them. But a plan involving the heavy hammer surfaced in my mind. The technique for using the heavy hammer is to utilize the damage caused by falling from a high altitude. So if I could jump from a high enough place, the power of the heavy hammer was finally unleashed, so the plan was almost complete. It was time to finish off these 3 beautiful girls. Triple kill. Basic operation, brothers. I only needed 1 kick. Afterwards, I was planning to relax tonight, but the appearance of one of Wei Li's friends quietly pushed the mission forward. From his friend, we learned that the reason we couldn't find the resurrection fragments was that Mu Mu, this overachiever, had already looted all the ancient cities 3 days ago. Now, everything is locked inside his base. So, if we can get the coordinates of the base, we can get the materials. Then, we subtly used 7 golden apples to get the coordinates of Mu Mu's base, triggering the trap, brother. But as we approached Mu Mu's base, we discovered this. What the hell, brother? You know what that is, right?
Yes, a weather cannon.
Right, it's an electronic railgun, a device that uses a large amount of TNT to propel projectiles. It's so fast that if you get hit, you're dead for sure. But the problem is, what is it aiming at? It's
aiming at the spawn point. We don't know who built it, but there's no time to investigate now. We're almost at Mu Mu's secret base. Get the Jeff sacrifice ready. We're here. There are
people there, brother. If you want to open those boxes, someone needs to distract them.
If only there was a way to distract them.
Brother, don't even think about using me as bait. I was the one who came last time.
Come and help me. I'm on fire. What the hell?
Put out the fire. Put out the fire. Save me. I'm being attacked by something. Are you just going to watch me burn? What the hell, brothers? Help me. Help me. Let him burn, brother. This scene is so beautiful.
I need water. Forget it. Just let him stay there. Wait. Just stay there. Stay there. Don't come over. What the heck? Now I'm pissed off too.
No, the fire's out. This looks so good. Just let him wear it. Stop messing around. Quickly put out the fire. Oh my god, what are you doing? Put out the fire immediately. Brother, if you don't put it out, I'll have to roll on the ground to put it out.
Brother, can't you put out the fire yourself? While they were in chaos, I successfully obtained the resurrection fragments we needed using an invisibility potion. But just as I was celebrating my success, I realized that in the flat world mode, players need to craft a nether portal from lava in the village and start from the stronghold. But what if all of that disappears? Is it possible to defeat the Ender Dragon in a world without a nether portal? The only existing blocks are dirt and bedrock. This is the challenge that the player Flaps will be doing in this video. Completing the game in hardcore mode without building generation enabled. First, he decided to go find some resources, because he's playing in hardcore mode, so he has to keep his stomach full at all times. But the problem now is that FS needs to find a way to get to the nether. While collecting food, he quickly came up with an idea. To successfully reach the end, the Wandering Trader is absolutely essential. But before finding the Wandering Trader, FS needs to consider how to escape from the terrifying hostile creatures when night falls. As we all know, creatures can spawn on every dirt block, and in large numbers. It looks like a scene from a zombie apocalypse, very terrifying, so Flaps must prevent this from happening. At this moment, he suddenly remembered that creatures cannot spawn on bedrock, so he has to mine a 100 by 100 area, all the way down to the bedrock layer. According to calculations, this will take approximately 14 hours. Although it's a long time, he couldn't think of a better way. However, the process will inevitably. They encountered human raiders, who constantly harassed the players like flies. Fortunately, this was nothing to F, who had seen much worse, but the area was swarming with them. So FS introduced an army of slimes to prevent monster spawning, as they filled up the monster limit. If they had mined all that dirt without the slimes, FS probably wouldn't have survived even the first wave. Unfortunately, patrolling creatures don't count towards the creature limit, so the raiders still existed. Finally, Fluff spent 16 hours clearing out a spacious area, then reinforced it to prevent slime attacks. Now, to get emeralds, FS needed armor, and the only way to get armor was to kill zombies and skeletons. Therefore, Flaps decided to build a small mob grinder. To prevent spawning on top, he needed to place some wool carpets, but since his inventory didn't have enough wool, he decided to borrow some from the sheep, believing the kind sheep would be generous. Finally, he could start grinding mobs. Exclamation mark. Now F had a full set of armor, although it wasn't very good, but this meant FS could get emeralds, because he needed to trade emeralds with the Wandering Trader. He then exited the game and restarted in 1.14. FS did this because in Snapshot 18W46, patrols were temporarily buffed in the game. Our favorite raiders would kill anything they saw, but more importantly, patrols would drop emeralds when killed. Also, patrols appeared more frequently in 1.14. Now Flaps just returned to the area and waited for a while, and soon Flaps saw the target creatures. From such a distance, he thought he could just sit here and shoot arrows, and it actually seemed to work, but he was quickly discovered by the evil villagers. So, FLS retreated while continuing to strategize. Now, he planned to try sneaking over to get the emerald, but just as he picked up one, the other evil villagers in front of him also spotted him. It seems he underestimated the difficulty of this challenge. He didn't expect these guys to be so aggressive, so FPS had to change his approach. Going to get the emerald and snatch it. That emerald's a little more chonky than I remember it. Ooh, it's right there. Oh, he's coming, he's coming, he's coming. Please, please. Ooh, I can lure them down here. That's actually genius. All I had to do was get a couple hundred men with bows, arrows, and axes to chase me down a one-by-one hole. What could go wrong? I have some free candy. Just follow me into the cavern. Thank you kindly for your donations. Now we have our emeralds, we just have to go back to one. Now it's time. Flaps went to look for the Wandering Trader. Since Flaps only had 5 emeralds, he wasn't sure if he could trade for a sapling. This was crucial, because only by obtaining a sapling could he travel to the nether and the end. He hoped everything would go smoothly. Flaps had been searching for about 20 hours, but he still hadn't seen the Wandering Trader. He finally found one, but the trader didn't have what he needed. But Flaps believed that perseverance pays off. After a few more hours, Flaps saw a Wandering Trader being chased by zombies. Logically, he shouldn't help, but what if this guy had the sapling he needed? So Flaps decided to take a risk. He rushed to the Wandering Trader as fast as he could. The trader didn't have a sapling. The next day, a Wandering Trader finally spawned again, not far from Flaps. This time, he successfully exchanged 5 emeralds for a sapling. With the target item obtained, he could start the next task. Wood could be used to make planks, which were crucial for building a mob farm. A mob farm would allow him to collect experience points from zombies faster than his previous design. However, since the chance of zombies dropping iron ingots is less than 2.5%, this might take a long time, probably several hours. Flaps soon collected enough iron ingots. Everyone knows that the overworld doesn't have water, and water is very important for the later parts of the challenge. So, if he made a cauldron out of iron, he could collect water. This is why collecting iron ingots from killing zombies was important. Now, he could use a bucket to scoop up water, and use bottles to fill them, thus creating an infinite water source. Now, if Flaps wanted to get armor when he went to the end, he would need villagers, but it was impossible to get villagers into the overworld. The only way to do it is to find a zombie villager and a witch and climb into the boat. Oh, that was too easy. Take it. This game is handing itself to me, bruh. No, put it back. Fine. I have more dirt. Screw you too. Oh my god. I can't even get out of here. This is ridiculous. I just need a witch. What are those? Okay, come on. Why? This is not a bad idea. This is a bad idea. Get in the boat. Okay, now the villager follows me. Oh, not you. He's using him as a shield. Okay, now right here. Yes, now, that's half the plan. For this to work, we're going to need copper and we need it like right now. 3 ingots will enable us to get the villager, but it needed to be raining for this to work. By placing water in the top, we can turn the zombies into drowned. They only have a very small percentage chance of dropping the copper that we're going to need. Now, Flaps needs to use the collected copper to make a lightning rod, then spent 5 hours catching a group of piglets, using the lightning rod to attract lightning to turn them into zombie pigmen, and finally killing them to get enough experience points. Now, he needs to turn the zombie villagers into normal villagers. To do this, FS needs to do 2 things. First, the witch must throw a weakness potion. They only have a 25% chance of doing this. Then, right-click on the villager with a golden apple, and in the next 5 minutes, he will recover into a normal villager. Now that he has villagers, there's only one last thing to do before going to the nether. Build an iron farm. The villagers sit in this small box, the iron golems spawn in the water and are pushed to the lower platform, and this zombie will scare the villagers, causing them to spawn iron golems faster. Now, start killing the iron golems to get a lot of iron. Hard work pays off, and Flaps finally got a full set of iron armor. Below, one of the most crucial steps in the game, arriving in the nether. This requires lava, but since F didn't turn on structure generation, he can't get lava from structures, and villagers and wandering traders won't sell lava either. So, is the challenge going to end like this? Of course not, nothing is impossible in Minecraft. FS spent a day online without eating or drinking, looking for a solution, and he actually found one. Now Flaps has to break the rules of the game, because the overclock generation class was introduced in Minecraft Snapshot 12W01. So what would happen if you opened an overclocked save file before this version? Let's find out by checking it out. The game generated a normal world, because the game couldn't understand the overclocked world. It converted the player's chunk into a normal chunk. Another major problem is that FS couldn't transfer items from his world to this world, or from this world to his world. So you might ask, if there's no way to get the lava back to my world from this version, why did FS even enter the Minecraft beta? This is because during testing, he discovered a major flaw in the game's core mechanics. By entering the nether, Flaps created a new dimension file. When he restored the save file to version 1.19, he lost all his items, but not his location. Interestingly, due to version inconsistencies, the game became somewhat glitchy, almost like it crashed, but the nether portal still worked normally. Now Flaps needs to figure out how to get to the end. Before that, he needs to gather some useful resources to prevent himself from dying immediately upon entering the end. To do this, he set up a villager trading post, then planted a bunch of potatoes to trade with villagers for emeralds, and then collected some blaze rods in the nether, which will be very important later. Now Flaps has a full set of diamond armor, but before getting the final supplies, he still needs some blaze rods, and then he needs to craft iron ingots for the golem. Only with powerful weapons will he have the confidence to go to the end. Now Flaps is using beta 1.9 pre-release 3 to load the save content. This early version of the game doesn't have an overclocked mode, but it does have what Flaps needs. In early versions, when the end portal was introduced to Minecraft, there was no way to find the portal, and the Eye of Ender didn't work the way it does today. To make it easier for players to find the nether portal, the sorcerer created a giant glass map showing the location. Now, these may not look like it, but they are indeed portal frames. If you explode them with TNT, they can even drop as items. Now you might say, isn't it impossible to transfer items from this version to a newer version? Actually, there is a way, but it requires going to the nether. First, use the old F4 glitch to trick the game, then put the nether portal frame into a chest. When F saves and updates back to his version, the items in the chest remain unchanged. Now, take the items, put on the armor, and ride the beloved little donkey to prepare for an exciting moment, but the donkey is more interested in examining the history of different villages. Game historians soon discovered that before the player was even born, most villagers lived even more miserable lives. They were ruled by the village king, and under the king's orders, all commoners were sent to the mines to dig for ore. With the hard labor day after day, the king's palace quickly became increasingly wealthy, and all the ministers lived in villas. However, this wealth had nothing to do with the working villagers. They still lived in mud huts, struggling to make ends meet every day. Obviously, most of their labor was exploited by these damned elites. Therefore, in order to support their families, they could only work harder in the mines. But the harder they worked, the more prosperous these elites became, and if any commoner tried to enter the rich area, they would immediately be driven away by the king's guards, and in severe cases, even deprived of their lives. They were forever confined to the slums, forbidden from interacting with high society. But ironically, as the eldest son of the village king, Philemy was a staunch idealist and warrior. He personally approached his father and proposed a system of equality for all people. However, the king immediately scolded him, stating that the commoners were merely wealth for their noble class. Philemy disagreed with his father's ideology, firmly believing that all villagers should be equal. To achieve this ideal, he left the palace and sought out his younger brother, Victor, hoping to gain his support. "Stop your foolish ideas. This will ruin our current good life. You're wrong. Only by achieving equality for all people will our civilization become even more prosperous." Quote, Philemy and his brother ultimately failed to reach an agreement, and their conversation ended in discord. To gain a large number of supporters, Philemy went to the slums and conducted a survey among the commoners, asking if they were willing to overthrow the king's rule and create a society of equality. 99% of the commoners chose to agree, but 1% refused because they were satisfied with the status quo. Therefore, to prevent them from reporting him to the king, Philemy executed them all on the spot. To accomplish great things, Philemy knew he couldn't be soft-hearted. After dealing with these matters, Philemy found the 3 smartest villagers in the slums and took them to an underground laboratory. Their task was to create a special potion that could silently kill the king. They succeeded in just 3 days, but to ensure everything went smoothly, they needed Philemy to find a volunteer for testing. Philemy immediately agreed, and after leaving the laboratory, he first sang to the moon in the sky, then broke into a commoner's house. As the king's son, Hongtian claimed he had won the lottery and was going to make him a villager of high society. The gullible commoner was instantly moved to tears, thinking it was a windfall from heaven. Without any suspicion, he followed Philemy to the laboratory. Only after entering the small room did he realize it was a prison. However, by then, his cries and pleas were useless. The experimenters quickly approached him, took out the potion from a box nearby, and splashed it on him. The test subject's body quickly began to react, changing color repeatedly, and finally disappearing without a trace inside the prison. This effect perfectly matched Phlamy's expectations, but the next problem was how to get the king to drink the potion. Philemy knew the king was lustful and would find a courtesan named Caesar every night to relieve stress. So he found the courtesan Caesar beforehand and successfully bribed her with 10 gold coins, instructing her to find an opportunity to sprinkle the potion on the king's food that night. To ensure the plan was foolproof, before sunset, he secretly went to his younger brother's room and placed a diary under his pillow. The diary contained complete information about the assassination of the king. His purpose was to frame his 9-year-old brother for the assassination. Time quickly passed to night. The courtesan Caesar was indeed summoned. According to the plan, she secretly put the potion into a cake, then began to coax the king, saying she had brought him a delicious cake. After eating the cake, the lustful king quickly felt unwell. His face became increasingly pale, and he eventually collapsed to the ground. At this moment, the king's youngest son heard the commotion and ran over. Seeing his father lying on the ground, he immediately questioned Caesar about what had happened. "I'm very sorry. Your father is dead." "What do you mean? Did you kill my father?" Quote. However, Philemy suddenly appeared, bringing with him the king's guards. Using the evidence he had forged in his brother's room, he successfully framed his brother Victor for the assassination, sentencing him to life imprisonment and imprisoning him in the underground prison. After removing all obstacles, Philemy successfully became the new king, wielding supreme power. At this time, he had not forgotten his initial ideal and was still determined to achieve equality for all villagers. But in the blink of an eye, 10 years passed, and the lives of the common people had not changed. Life remained difficult and impoverished. The biggest change was among the former village nobles. They had all lost their mansions and become like commoners, needing to mine day and night. The lower-class commoners now realized that Philemy was not a savior at all. The equality he advocated was actually equal exploitation of all commoners and villagers. Through the equal exploitation of all villagers, he quickly accumulated more wealth than the previous king, even having a bed made entirely of emeralds. Meanwhile, in the underground prison, his brother Victor had been imprisoned there for all these years, enduring physical torture every day. During this time, Victor repeatedly explained to the guards that he was not the one who killed the previous king, that it was all Phlamy's scheme. However, the guards said they didn't care about the truth, only wanting to keep their jobs. The guards' answer completely disheartened Victor. He realized that he had to resist, so during the next torture session, he suddenly attacked, snatching the guard's diamond, and then without hesitation, the guard fought back and successfully escaped from the underground prison. Burning with rage, he immediately stormed into the home of the 5-woman Caesar, questioning him about why he had conspired with Philemy to frame him. "I'm very sorry, but he offered me too much back then." Listening to Caesar, he said, "I'll let bygones be bygones, but now I need you to take me into the castle. After that, I'll give you 100 gold coins." Quote. As expected, Caesar was bribed again and quickly nodded in agreement. So, Victor disguised himself as one of the 5 women and infiltrated the castle as Caesar's sister. Just as the king was about to get intimate with Caesar, Victor, through the tunnel of the underground laboratory, finally arrived in the king's bedroom. The king looked at this suddenly appearing figure and felt a strong sense of familiarity, but couldn't remember who it was until Victor completely removed his disguise. The king then suddenly remembered that this was his own brother, whom he had framed to obtain the throne. Perhaps you should have killed me directly back then, but now you have no chance. After saying this, Victor took out a skull and, following the method recorded in the book, placed 4 pieces of soul soil on the ground. Victor knew clearly that once the Wither was summoned, he would also face death, yet he still did it. The Wither extensively destroyed the kingdom's buildings, and only a small number of villagers survived. This disaster also helped them escape the king's exploitation, and soon they dispersed to various parts of the world, rebuilding their lives. The older brother really liked these comforting scenes in MC, such as the sound of digging diamonds and the regular bouncing of a large number of blocks, but he was more curious about whether these things could be turned into traps. So he prepared some traps to entertain the 2 hunters behind him, hoping to kill them and escape the pursuit. The older brother fired a heavy arrow, the game began, and at the same time the hunters also released. They were fully equipped. Their goal was to take down the older brother before they were eliminated by traps. He really didn't have any armor on. We could easily take him down. The older brother went into battle naked to test whether his traps were effective, so as soon as he made a mistake, he would be chased and torn apart. Soon, the older brother found the first wonderful trap. So troublesome, I hate parkour, hurry up. As soon as the hunters approached, the older brother detonated 200 shadow crystals, blasting the hunters directly into the sky, buying valuable time for the older brother's escape. He quickly used a triple jump to leap over the pools of water. One hunter luckily landed in the water without further injury, and the other side also didn't suffer much damage. It seemed they were still too far away. The older brother ran non-stop towards the next trap, but the hunters were still close behind. However, the older brother wasn't panicking at all, because he was almost there, and this distance was perfect for his next trap. The poor performance of the first trap seemed to boost the hunters' confidence to an unprecedented level, but all the actors on the stage were already in place. What the older brother had to do now was run to the camera and pull the switch to start this giant screen. Something's not right here. But why do I only see mud? This couldn't be the second trap, could it? The hunters also noticed something was wrong, but as hunters, how could they be afraid of the prey's dying struggle? The older brother pulled the switch, and the TNT minecarts instantly popped out. The hunters were instantly terrified, but the explosion covered everything, leaving them nowhere to hide. A full 100 TNT minecarts blew the entire place into ruins, and the older brother had already set off again. The unexpected performance of the trap made the older brother very satisfied, but unfortunately, the damage was still insufficient. It didn't even blow up a single star of the hunters. The coverage wasn't enough, allowing them to escape the center of the explosion. Fortunately, the subsequent trap was designed by the old man to be not only comfortable but also sufficiently deadly. However, before luring the hunters there, the old man needed to buy some time. The hunters could only watch as the old man flew away, but he wasn't actually flying to the third trap he had prepared. This was a little game the old man had created to stall for time. He hid in a purple compartment, and when the hunters arrived on the platform, they found a message and a clue left by the old man. Following the directions given by the old man, they also flew to the desert and saw a row of small houses. This was a color guessing game. There was a tool and 3 swords in the box outside, so they could choose 3 colors out of the 7 available to see if they could find the old man inside. The hunters quickly made their decision, one choosing 1 color and the other 2. But what they didn't know was that the old man had concealed important information. If they didn't find him within 3 tries, he would press a button, causing the floor beneath them to disappear, sending them plummeting into the boiling lava. Could they find the old man? The hunters knew that the old man's favorite color was pink, so they shot at the pink compartment first. When the blinding sand cleared, it was empty. It seemed their first choice was wrong. It wasn't pink. For the second try, the hunter could only rely on luck. He chose yellow, since the old man and gambling were incompatible. The old man could only say that the hunter was slandering him, because he really wasn't in the yellow compartment. The hunters only had 1 chance left, but there were still 5 colors remaining. They were a little flustered. Suddenly, the hunter was possessed by wisdom. Purple was the color closest to pink, and he thought the old man was most likely hiding there. His reasoning convinced the other hunter, and the final arrow flew towards the purple compartment. The old man hadn't expected them to guess correctly, and could only immediately descend to the lower level, unfortunately failing to let the hunters. The people tasted the lava pool. They were teleported to an obsidian tunnel and immediately saw the elder brother's jade feet and rushed towards him. But this was actually intentional on the elder brother's part. He waited for them to chase him at full speed before entering the kaleidoscope tunnel. The elder brother, possessing all the advantages, easily landed in the middle buffer zone and entered the stalactite tunnel. But the hunters were miserable. They had their own troubles and couldn't even see the kaleidoscope tunnel at a glance. By the time they reached the bottom, they had no time to adjust their landing. The elder brother successfully tricked them out of 1 life, but it wasn't over yet. Seeing them fall, the elder brother immediately activated the trap and then turned and ran. The hunters made the mistake of chasing him recklessly again. By the time they discovered the stalactites falling from above, it was too late. They were no longer running to chase the elder brother, but to escape the falling stalactites. But the elder brother had timed it perfectly. None of them escaped, and each of them lost a life here. In a short time, they lost 2 lives, leaving them terrified. But unfortunately, the elder brother didn't have any more comfortable traps. They chased the elder brother to the final trap. If this one couldn't take them all down, the elder brother would never be able to escape their relentless pursuit. He carefully lured the hunters along the way. The elder brother neither distanced himself nor acted carelessly, but maintained the distance he wanted. Suddenly, he triggered a trap, and the hunters' screams immediately echoed from behind. Below was a huge trap. Anyone who fell in would be captured by the Pig King, and then over 300 TNTs would be launched, forming a long water dragon, with a captured person as the target. Once they fell in, the chance of survival would be 0. But what the elder brother didn't expect was that 1 hunter actually escaped. Now, on one side was a fully equipped hunter, and on the other side was the struggling elder brother. the defenseless prey was stabbed, truly a pair of ancient, ill-fated lovers. In the pit, the hunter was caught in a fierce battle with the 300 sky warriors, and the older brother, in his hasty escape, used a trident and didn't land in the water, thus meeting his demise. This thing that looks like stockings is chainmail, a bizarre item that old players have owned but new players have never heard of. It's an extremely rare item in the game's history. Official data shows that its armor rating is only slightly lower than gold armor, but it has low durability and is also particularly difficult to obtain because it cannot be crafted directly through a recipe. So what is the purpose of such an item in the game? Today, let's study the history of chainmail, going back to 2009, the ancient 0.24 survival test version. At this time, chainmail was just added to the game. Before that, there was only another type of armor, plate armor. Plate armor would randomly spawn on zombies and skeletons, but chainmail never appeared. Even stranger, the developers clearly created the model and textures, but there was no actual application until the in-dev version, when the armor system we are now familiar with was officially added to the game, naturally including chainmail. Then, its crafting recipe was also added to the game, but ridiculously, the material for crafting chainmail was fire. Leaving aside the fact that the two are completely unrelated, fire is something that cannot be obtained normally unless you use mods or an editor. Since it cannot be obtained, what is the point of adding it to the game? After searching on the internet, we found this statement from the game's creator, Notch. Notch said that he once made an RPG game called Land of the Chamber, and the inspiration for chainmail came from there. The idea was good, but unfortunately, the games weren't the same, and Notch knew this, but he decided to leave it as is for the time being, waiting for the right opportunity to release it to players. Thus, the chainmail armor lay dormant in the crafting recipes for 2.5 years, going through several versions until version 1.3 was released, which added the method of obtaining it through trading with villagers. Then, in version 1.4, skeletons and zombies had a chance to spawn with chainmail armor, and killing them could result in a drop. At that time, collecting chainmail armor was a trend. Players either spent all day in mob grinders or diligently mined for resources to trade with villagers. If you could assemble a complete set of armor and enchant it, you were definitely a big deal. After these two acquisition methods were introduced, in version 1.8, the game completely removed the collectible flames, and also removed the crafting recipe for chainmail armor. Even then, the official developers still didn't intend to add a recipe for this armor, but many players who cared about this noticed that version 1.16 added the item, chain. Since that's the case, why not use it as a crafting material? It's perfectly logical. Although crafting it this way would be more resource intensive than iron armor, and the durability and armor rating would be lower, it still makes sense. Do you still remember the sound from your first time playing Minecraft? Not the sound of mining blocks, not the hiss of creepers, but that ethereal, slightly lonely piano sound that you suddenly remembered when you were standing alone next to your newly built house, watching the sunset. This sound is practically etched into the DNA of a generation of players. Its creator is C418, but you might not know that before writing this legendary music, C418's life was anything but legendary. In the early 21st century, C418 was working a soul-crushing assembly line job, repeating mechanical labor for 10 hours a day, until his brother introduced him to music production software, and a whole new world opened up for him. At first, he was purely driven by passion, taking on small gigs on forums. It was on an independent game forum that he met someone who was also working on small projects. At the time, N was struggling with the music for his new game, Minecraft. The game was too open-ended. He tried various types of music, but nothing felt right. Either it sounded cheap or too jarring. Imagine if the background music for Minecraft was loud, raucous rock music. Wouldn't that instantly feel wrong? It was then that C418 cautiously suggested, I make some music in my spare time. Would you like to listen? He sent over a few snippets of his self-made ambient music, secretly thinking, will anyone even consider this music? The reply stunned him. Would you be willing to create all the music and sound effects for my game? Although the game was still in its early stages and wouldn't make much money, it offered a tempting condition for a creator. 100% of the copyright and royalties would belong to him, and he would have complete creative freedom. C418 knew his opportunity had arrived, but the challenge had only just begun. At the time, independent games often used electronic music, but C418 neither liked nor was good at it. So he decided to do the opposite, using a real piano to create quiet, grand melodies with a touch of melancholy. Another challenge was that the game engine at the time was too rudimentary. The music couldn't loop or change according to the scene. C418's solution was a stroke of genius. He made the music play randomly and occasionally, leaving long periods of silence in between. It was this use of silence that made each appearance of the music a gift. It was there when you were mining, it was there when you gazed at the starry sky. It didn't intrude. It simply accompanied you, instantly transforming an ordinary game into a shining moment in your memory. His first album was released in 2011. With his complete mastery of the game's sound design, C418 was finally able to leave the cold factory life behind. In his second album in 2013, C418 incorporated darker, more sophisticated music, once again impressing everyone. Everything was at its peak until Microsoft acquired Minecraft in 2014. C418 held 100% of the music rights, which was a great achievement in the independent game scene, but unacceptable in the eyes of a giant like Microsoft. To continue composing music for the game, the condition was simple. hand over your copyright. Negotiations reached a stalemate. It's said that C418 had even prepared his third album, but Microsoft wouldn't budge, and this Ghost album remains locked away on his hard drive to this day. In 2018, he contributed 3 final tracks for version 1.13, and since then, he has had no further involvement with the official Minecraft soundtrack. Microsoft brought in new composers, such as the talented L, but the ownership of the music was firmly in the company's hands. The story should have ended here. A sad tale of capital-crushing ideals. C418 went on to make independent games and sell vinyl records, doing quite well for himself. But then, this year, an unexpected twist occurred. C418's original Minecraft soundtrack was inducted into the Library of Congress, the highest level of cultural preservation institution in the United States. Only 25 national treasure recordings are selected each year, and historically, only the Super Mario theme song has been included as game music. C418 is the first game composer to have an entire album inducted. The official evaluation stated that C418's music defined the openness of the game and could instantly evoke collective memories for a generation. And the best part is, because C418 stubbornly held onto that 100% copyright, all the glory, all the headlines, and all the spotlight belonged solely to him. Microsoft could buy the game, but they couldn't buy this piece of cultural history.